We're living in the noisiest civilization in human history. Not just the noise of traffic and construction, but a deeper, more invasive noise. The constant screaming siren of information, the endless buzz of notifications, the ceaseless chatter of social media feeds, news alerts, podcasts, and emails. From the moment we wake to the moment we fall asleep, we are plugged into a global matrix of distraction. Our minds marinating in a soup of other people's opinions, anxieties, and agendas. In the middle of this relentless storm of stimulation, we have developed a new and profound collective fear, the fear of being alone, the fear of silence, the fear of having nothing to do but to sit quietly with our own thoughts. The moment a gap of silence appears, in an elevator, in a line at the store, the moment before sleep, our hand instinctively reaches for the phone, our anesthetic against the terrifying prospect of solitude. We tell ourselves we are staying connected, staying informed, staying productive. But the hard truth is that we are running. We are running from the very place where our true power is located. We fear the silence because it is in the silence that the real questions arise. It is in the silence that we are forced to confront our true desires, our deepest fears, and the gap between the person we are and the person we were born to be. And because we are running from the silence, we are running from our own genius. We are running from the source of our best ideas, our most brilliant solutions, and our deepest sense of purpose. This is the modern disease of noise, and its primary symptom is a life of shallow thinking, reactive decisions, and unrealized potential. This reframing of solitude as a source of power, not a state of lack, is the foundation for a life of clarity and achievement. On this channel, we decode these counterintuitive principles, using the wisdom of the ages and the science of Napoleon Hill. If you are tired of the noise and ready to learn how to access the profound power that lies in the quiet, then I invite you to join our community by subscribing to our channel right now. You might think that this need for constant connection is a sign of our ambition, but the greatest and most effective leaders in history understood the opposite to be true. They understood that the power to command the crowd was forged in the discipline of being alone. Consider the ultimate case study in leadership and power, Jesus of Nazareth. His public life was a whirlwind of crowds, of constant demands, of healing, teaching, and leading. But if you read his biography closely, you will find a hidden, repeating pattern, a secret habit that was the true source of his power. The scripture tells us again and again, he withdrew to lonely places and prayed. Before he chose his 12 disciples, his mastermind group, he spent the entire night alone on a mountainside. After the incredible success of feeding the 5,000, he immediately went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. This was not an escape. This was a strategy. This was the CEO's secret retreat. Solitude was not his refuge from the work. It was the board meeting where he received the instructions for the work. It was where he connected with his source of power, clarified his purpose, and downloaded the strategy for his next move, what this great master practiced spiritually. Napoleon Hill, the great scientist of success, discovered was a fundamental law of the mind. Hill understood that our greatest ideas do not come from the noisy, logical, conscious mind. They come from a deeper place. The habit of Jesus of withdrawing to lonely places was not a footnote in his story. It was the very source code of his power. It was not an act of escape from the world, but a strategic advance into a deeper dimension of power that allowed him to command the world. If we look at his ministry as the most successful enterprise ever launched, then his practice of solitude was his secret board meeting, his strategic offsite, his CEO's retreat. By analyzing the timing of his withdrawals, we can discover a perfect blueprint for how to use solitude in our own lives. We see a clear and repeating pattern. Jesus sought divine solitude at 3 critical junctures. First, he sought solitude before every major decision. Before he chose his 12 apostles, the men who would form his core team, his mastermind group, The scripture says he went out to a mountainside to pray and spent the night praying to God. Think about this from a strategic perspective. This was his most important hiring decision. He did not rely on resumes, interviews, or the opinions of others. He went into a state of deep, uninterrupted solitude to receive divine clarity on who to choose. He understood that a decision of this magnitude could not be made in the noise of the crowd. It had to be received in the quiet of the connection. Second, he sought solitude immediately after a major success. After the monumental miracle of feeding the 5,000, a moment when his popularity was at its absolute peak, what did he do? The scripture says he dismissed the crowds and went up on a mountainside by himself. This is completely counterintuitive. Most of us, after a huge victory, would stay for the celebration. We would soak in the praise, leverage the momentum, and immediately plan the next public move. Jesus did the opposite. He understood that the moment of great success is also a moment of great danger. The danger of the ego becoming inflated, of losing your connection to the true source of your power. His retreat was an act of grounding. It was a strategic move to quiet the applause of the world so he could once again hear the still, small voice of his mission and receive instructions for the next phase, not just celebrate the last one. Third, he sought solitude before every major trial. In the Garden of Gethsemane, on the eve of his greatest test, he again withdrew. He went to his quiet place to align his will and gather the spiritual strength needed to face the ordeal ahead. He did not walk into his crisis with frantic, fearful energy. He faced it from a center of profound peace and resolution that was forged in the quiet of his solitude. He teaches us that the strength to endure the storm is not found in the middle of the hurricane, but in the calm eye that you cultivate within yourself before the winds arrive. This pattern reveals the three primary functions of divine solitude. It is the place you go to receive your clarity for decisions. It is the place you go to find humility and guidance after success. And it is the place you go to build the strength to endure any trial. It is your strategy room, your grounding station, and your power plant. This pattern reveals that solitude was Jesus' secret weapon for clarity, power, and resilience. But what is actually happening in the mind during these periods of quiet? How does being alone unlock our best ideas and deepest strengths? For the scientific explanation of this spiritual practice, we must turn to Napoleon Hill's exploration of the mind's most powerful receiving set. The pattern is undeniable. The greatest leader in history used solitude as his primary tool for strategy, grounding, and power. What Jesus practiced as an act of spiritual communion, Napoleon Hill, centuries later, would describe as a profound psychological and scientific law. Hill gives us the engineering schematics to understand why the practice of solitude is so effective. To understand this, we must first understand Hill's model of the mind. He taught that we have two minds working in tandem. First, there is our conscious, reasoning mind. This is the mind we use all day. It analyzes, it calculates, it worries, it processes the data from our five senses. It is incredibly useful, but it has one fundamental limitation. It can only work with information it has already learned. It can only rearrange old ideas into new combinations. It cannot create anything truly new. But then there is a second, deeper, and far more powerful faculty. Hill called it the creative imagination, or the sixth sense. He described this as the receiving set of the human brain. It is your mental antenna, and its function is to connect you with the vast, cosmic storehouse of all knowledge, all wisdom, and all perfect plans, the source he called infinite intelligence. Think of it like this. Infinite intelligence is constantly broadcasting brilliant ideas, solutions to your every problem, and the perfect, most direct path to your goals. The broadcast is always on. The problem is not with the transmission. The problem is with our reception. And what causes the problem with our reception? Noise, static, the constant chatter of our own logical mind, combined with the endless bombardment of external stimulation, creates a wall of mental static so thick and so loud that the subtle, quiet broadcast from infinite intelligence cannot get through. Now, the secret habit of Jesus makes perfect scientific sense. His practice of divine solitude was the act of deliberately creating a clear channel. He would physically remove himself from the noise of the crowds, and through prayer and quiet contemplation, he would mentally silence the noise of his own anxious, reasoning mind. In that profound state of internal and external quiet, the static would disappear, and the signal from infinite intelligence could be received with perfect clarity. The divine plan, the brilliant idea, the perfect solution was downloaded. This concept of your mind as a receiving set for genius ideas is the key to all great invention, art, and leadership. And it is a skill you can develop. If you are ready to learn how to clear your own channel and start receiving the brilliant ideas that are meant for you, make sure you are subscribed to our channel, because this is the advanced work we do here. Napoleon Hill discovered that the greatest achievers he studied, men like Thomas Edison and Henry Ford, were masters of this practice. They all had the habit of taking long, quiet walks or sitting in a silent room for hours, simply listening for an idea. They were not doing nothing. They were engaging in the most productive work possible, creating a clear channel for their sixth sense to operate. This is the power of divine solitude. It is not an escape from reality. It is a connection to a deeper reality. It is the act of disconnecting from the thousand distracting voices of the world so that you can finally hear the one voice that holds the answer you've been looking for. This is the science. Our greatest ideas are not created by the frantic effort of our logical mind. They are received by our intuitive mind when we finally give it the silence it needs to operate. The genius is not in the thinking, it is in the listening. So if solitude is the key to creating a clear channel for brilliant ideas, how do we practice it effectively? How do we turn an empty room and a silent moment into a profitable and productive board meeting with the universe? For that, we need a practical ritual. We have established the profound truth that our greatest ideas are not born from the noise of frantic effort, but are received in the quiet of a clear channel. The question now becomes entirely practical. How do we create this clear channel on command? How do we turn an empty room and a silent moment into a productive and profitable board meeting with infinite intelligence? The answer lies in a simple three-step ritual. This is your manual for practicing divine solitude, not as an escape, but as a strategic tool for success. Step 1. Schedule your solitude. The first and most critical step is to treat your solitude with the same seriousness as your most important business meeting. You must schedule it. What gets scheduled gets done. Look at your calendar and block out a non-negotiable period of time each day. You don't need to start with an entire night on a mountainside. Start with just 15 minutes. The consistency of the practice is far more important than the duration. This scheduled time is your sacred appointment with your own genius and with infinite intelligence. During this time, there are two strict rules: no inputs and no outputs. No phone, no computer, no books, no podcasts, and no talking. It is just you, your thoughts, and a simple pen and notebook. This act of scheduling and disconnecting is you building the boardroom for your meeting. Step 2, the mental release. You cannot enter a state of receptive silence if your mind is still a chaotic storm of worries, to-do lists, and anxieties. The second step, in the first few minutes of your scheduled solitude, is the mental release. Take your notebook and for 3 to 5 minutes, perform what is often called a brain dump. Write down everything that is cluttering your mind. Every task you need to do, every person you need to call, every fear that is nagging you, every random thought. Do not judge or organize it. Just get it all out of your head and onto the paper. This simple act is incredibly powerful. It is the act of taking the noise that is inside your mind and placing it outside of you. It signals to your brain that these items are captured and will not be forgotten. This process clears the mental static, quiets the chattering logical mind, and prepares the clear channel for the next most important step. Step 3. Ask and listen. With your mind now calm and clear, you are ready to tune in. This is the heart of the ritual. First, review your definite purpose. Remind yourself of your great mission, your primary goal. Then, formulate the one major question you need guidance on right now. Make it clear and specific. For example, what is the most direct path to solving this specific financial challenge? Or reveal to me the breakthrough idea for my next project. Once you have your question, you formally ask it. You can speak it aloud or just in your mind. You are presenting the agenda to your senior partner, infinite intelligence. And then, the most important part of all, you listen. This is not the act of thinking hard for an answer. It is the opposite. It is a state of relaxed, expectant, and patient awareness. It is the posture of Samuel saying in your heart, "Speak, for your servant is listening." You simply sit with the question in the silence, and you pay attention to whatever comes. The answer will almost always be a whisper, a quiet idea, a new perspective on an old problem, a sudden feeling of knowing, a simple image. Whatever it is, no matter how small or strange it seems, your job is to capture it in your notebook immediately. This is the download. This is the guidance. Schedule the time. Release the noise. Ask and listen. This is the ritual. When this 3-step practice becomes a daily habit, you stop being a victim of the world's noise and you become the master of your own quiet power. Your life begins to change in tangible ways as the fruits of this silence begin to ripen. We have reached the end of our journey into the heart of silence. We began by diagnosing the modern disease of noise. We studied the secret habit of the greatest leader in history. We understood the science of the clear channel from Napoleon Hill, and we have been given a practical 3-step ritual to cultivate our own profitable solitude. The final question is, what is the result? What kind of person do you become when this daily ritual becomes your second nature? The answer is that you undergo a fundamental shift in your relationship with the world. You stop being a follower and you start being a leader. The person who lives in the noise is, by definition, a follower. Their thoughts are a second-hand echo of the news they consume and the opinions they hear. Their actions are a reaction to the demands of their email inbox and the trends on social media. They are a leaf in the wind, constantly blown about by the chaotic currents of the outside world. But the person who masters divine solitude becomes the source of their own wind. By creating a clear channel to infinite intelligence, their ideas are no longer echoes. They are original. Their plans are no longer reactions. They are creations. They stop looking to the world for the next trend and start receiving the timeless truth from within. They are sought out for their clarity, for their calm decisiveness, and for their uncanny ability to find solutions that no one else can see. They lead, not by shouting the loudest, but by having listened the deepest. This transformation brings with it the fruits that all humanity craves. The first fruit is peace. The frantic anxiety of indecision is replaced by a calm confidence. You know that for any challenge you face, the perfect answer is available to you. You simply need to create the quiet space to receive it. The second fruit is creativity. Your mind, no longer clogged with the mental junk food of the digital world, becomes a fertile garden for brilliant, innovative ideas. You become a problem solver, a value creator, and as Napoleon Hill taught, the world pays its greatest rewards to those who can solve its greatest problems in new and creative ways. And the final fruit, which grows naturally from the soil of peace and creativity, is prosperity. The wealth and success you once chased in the noisy marketplace now begin to flow to you as a natural consequence of your new identity. Your divinely inspired ideas attract investment. Your calm and confident presence attracts clients and partners. You stop fighting for your piece of the pie and start creating new pies because you have a direct line to the cosmic recipe book. This life of quiet power and clear guidance is your birthright. It is the state of being we are dedicated to helping you achieve. If you are committed to this path of leading from the quiet, of becoming the source of your own success, then make sure you are subscribed to this channel. The world will continue to get louder. The distractions will only multiply. You can choose to be drowned in that noise, forever a victim of its endless demands. Or you can, starting tomorrow morning, begin the sacred and profitable practice of divine solitude, the noise or the wisdom, the crowd or the clarity, the echo or the voice. Your greatest breakthrough is not in the next podcast or the next notification. It is waiting for you in your next moment of silence. Go there and claim it.